Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. I hope you're well. I am well. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol, how you may be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life like I did. I hope everyone is safe. Thoughts going to those in the Kentucky area and other places where tornadoes were hit last night. So let's be let's be cognizant of some people are really having a tough time. Today's topic is just what the thumbnail says. Keto is simple. So why do we make it so hard? Not all of us do. Some of us we learn the protocol and we follow it and we don't try to bring anything else to it. We just follow it. But for some of us, we take a more circuitous route to success. So for those of you who don't know, the ketogenic protocol is one where you reduce your carbohydrate intake to a level where your liver quits pumping out glucose, sugar, like a fire hose. And when the glucose tap is turned off, our bodies happily switch to burning ketone bodies or fat for fuel. For many of us, our wish is that will be body fat. And how do you get there? Keep your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams a day or fewer. That's total carbs, not net carbs. So 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. If it's not on page 4, link below, don't eat it, but you don't even need a food list. It's fatty sources of protein is the bulk of what you're going to eat. And if you can tolerate it, full fat dairy, that in limited amounts, and limited amounts of non-starchy vegetables, although the vegetables are like, you don't even need them. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. That's the protocol. You will note that there are no mentions of grams of anything other than carbohydrate. Not saying how many grams of fat or how many grams of protein, not what time of day you should or should not eat, or how many times a day you should or should not eat. Not calories, not food combining. 20 grams or fewer a day, total carbs. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. That's it. So if that's it, why are there, I don't know, 150 billion Facebook groups, cookbooks, instruction manuals, YouTube channels, and I don't know what else, trying to explain how to do it? Because there's not one reason why some of us take something simple, which is not to say easy, because there are lifelong habits we have to break. We have to unlearn a lot of bad information that we were all given, and not just us, our parents, maybe even going to our grandparents, given poor information regarding nutrition. Hashtag Casey's Pink Drink. Tumbler full of ice. Then mostly full of diet tonic water, a splash of diet cranberry, and there's a little wedge of lime squeezed in there. I get asked every single time. Sometimes even after I've said it, I go back and look at comments later. Casey, what are you drinking? Which leads me to believe that people do not hang on my every word. So why would some of us make it harder? Or we assume it must be more complicated than 20 grams or fewer. Don't eat if you're not hungry. And we might think it must be more difficult because if it was that simple, why didn't people just tell us that way long ago? Well, there's a whole sordid history about that. And you can read that in learned books. Good Calories, Bad Calories, Gary Taubes, The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Tychols. You can find out why that is. Suffice to say, people who did not have our best interests at heart, had vested interests, made up some of the recommendations. But it really is that simple. Some of us make it more difficult because we just like to do that. Or maybe we like to tell ourselves, well, I would do it, but it's so complicated. I can't figure it out. Well, it's not that complicated, honestly. If you don't know whether a food what the carb count is, you don't need an app or a Ouija board or anything. Google how many carbs in such and such, and then look at the serving size, and it'll tell you. But pretty much eat fatty sources of protein. That just means eat the fat that comes with the protein. Eat the steak with the with the fat on it, the bacon with the fat, the eggs with the yolks. And limited amounts of vegetables if you're going to eat them, non-starchy, about a cup a day of non-starchy vegetables, pre-cooked, about a cup, that's not much, about the size of your fist, and about the size of 2 fists of leafy greens, maximum a day. And then a couple of ounces of full-fat dairy. So no nuts, there are no nuts on it. And as always, do what works for you. I can only share what worked for me. 15 seconds to tell you my story. I was morbidly obese for 30 years, from my mid-20s to my mid-50s. I had given up on, cuckoo's really fast. I had given up on losing weight. I had just given up. I had tried the triathlons and all that stuff. I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I Googled how to not take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I came across the white coat video of Dr. Eric Westman of Duke University. That was January 8th, 2014, and I've never looked back. I just followed the protocol from the jump. The people with whom I meet and speak and work, the ones who have been most successful, they didn't play. They did not play. They just follow the protocol. Not any so-called cheat days, no carb cycling, no doing of the net carbs, and no keto products. If a shelf-stable food product has the word keto on it, that's almost a guarantee that it's not. Because to make it shelf stable, there have to be ingredients in there to make it shelf stable. Truly foods that follow, and by the way, food is not ketogenic. Our bodies are ketogenic. My friend Amy Berger says that. Food is not ketogenic. Our bodies are ketogenic. Food is food. And it's not the presence of anything we eat that makes us become a fat burner. It's the absence of the carbs. Why do we make it more difficult? Well, in my former career, there was a man. I was youngish. I was one of the younger people in the company. And there was a man who started, and he came in, and we all had our own offices with doors and everything. And my office was pretty utilitarian. It based on what the career was, I had the things I needed. And then, because most of my career was not spent in the office, it was things you did outside of the office. So there was a man who came, and man, his office was so cool. First of all, he put grass paper everywhere. He and his wife, or a decorator, came and did that. It was really good looking. He had, a carousel of stamps that you put on documents, Chung signed, or sign here, or confidential. He had a whole carousel of them. He had every color push pin you could get. He had colorful files. He just had it all. So my father was alive at the time. I said, Dad, I don't get it. What am I doing wrong? George has got everything. And actually, I was pretty successful in this company, to tell you the truth, even at my young age. And George was not. And my father said, oh, well, he's surrounding himself with the accoutrement, but he really doesn't want to just do the work. And he never did. He left that industry after about a year and a half without having been successful for even once. So some of us want all the accoutrement. We want all the goodies. We want the devices. We want the kits and the books and we feel like, oh, we're doing something proactive by getting these things, when actually what we need to do is lay off the carbs. So, let's not beat George. Let's not surround ourselves with things that look like we're doing what needs doing, but we're not doing the work. So that's for some of us. Some of us have just gotten sucked in to the cacophony of information that's out there about the ketogenic protocol. There's a lot of it. I don't listen to anybody. When I was first starting, I followed, and these were lectures, not channels. These were recorded lectures of Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Stephen Finney, Dr. Jeff Volek, a few of Peter Attia's presentations. And then I just laid off by this time I had already started laying off the carbs and started feeling better. And I got a couple of books. The book that I would recommend, if you have one book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living by Drs. Stephen Finney and Jeff Volek. You can see it under resources at my blog, link below. It just answers almost everything. It explains how it works. But I didn't need to understand how it worked to be successful. I was just curious. So there's that. Why do we complicate it? I'm going to repeat again what the protocol is. Keep your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. If it's not on page 4, link below, don't eat it, but you don't need a food list. Just eat. We know what a fatty source of protein, we know what meat is. We know what animal product is, and we know what plant product is. So we're going with the animal products. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Now that is where it's simple advice, but it ain't that easy. We have to learn what hunger is. It is the most challenging aspect for almost everybody, including me. And once you kind of get that, you're feeling comfortable with that, you have to stop eating when you're satiated, not stop when you're stuffed. And one of the best ways to do that is to slow up, eat more slowly. There is a hormone called leptin that is the satiety hormone. It sends a signal to our brain that says, okay, you've had enough, but it takes a few minutes to get there. So if it takes 13 minutes to get the signal to your brain, but you've inhaled all of your food in 8.5 minutes, you won't get then you feel kind of gross. It is simple. Some of us really want to complicate it because we really don't want to do it. Have you had this thing, people say, oh my gosh, you look fantastic. You've lost, how much weight have you lost? I've lost 37 pounds. Wow, that's great. How did you do it? Because I am desperate to lose weight. And then you say, well, I laid off the carbs. Oh, then they go, okay, well, that's not for me. And it's not for everybody. It will probably work for absolutely everyone. But it's not going to be for everyone because not everyone's going to do it. Giving up smoking is an improvement for everyone. Some people are not going to do it. Sorry, though. The television is flickering behind me. That must be distracting. Okay. I am going to turn to comments because I really appreciate everyone that shows up. Shameless Commerce Division for just a moment. You can find any of these and lots more either at my blog under the swag thing or links to my Teespring store at my blog as well. But there are things underneath the video here. And also there is a book, a non-spiral version of this book at Amazon. I can't ship to other countries, but you can get this is Casey's 12-month record book. And you don't have to wait till January 1st. I purposely did not put dates on here so that, and it's got inspirational, I hope, sayings and habit trackers and goofy cartoons and things like that. You can get that at Amazon for less money and free shipping if you're Prime, and you can get it at other countries. But then there's limited supply of my 2022 calendar, which I'm really proud of. I designed this myself. The photographs are all taken by me. I designed the month things. And by the way, if you're a patron, remember that you get a discount on the calendars. And then, of course, there's my private Patreon support group made up of wonderful people. Depending on your pledge, you get 20 video snippets from me every month. I do them every weekday. The topics are suggested by the patrons. Going up from there, depending on your tier level, a handful of patron-only live streams on Crowdcast, a handful of patron-only video group sessions on Zoom, and hourly or 50-minute one-on-ones with me a month. And things like this, depending on your level. I send out cards about 4 times a year. I design them. I write a little note on the back, and then I hand address the envelope. It takes me all month because there are hundreds of these that go out. This one, it reads, to-do list. I will deal with my problems, not eat them. So these just came in yesterday. I'm excited. Okay, so thank you to the patrons. Oh, and there's a private, hidden, super secret Facebook group for patrons as well. I'm very meticulous about who gets access to the information. It's a private support group. So thank you. And some patrons are here. I want to thank you. And I just jump in with the first comment I see. Okay, Shelly Raleigh writes, I turned my hairstylist and her friend on. I have to scroll up. Excuse me. Sorry. On to you this week. I thought you were going to write the turn them on to keto. The last time they saw me was 40 pounds ago and they were astonished. Love the compliments. And you know, there's an art to taking a compliment. Some of us are not used to hearing compliments. We need to own them. You know, many of us, oh, wow, you've lost weight. You look great. But many of us will say, well, thank you. I've got a long way to go. Don't do that. Just say thank you. I feel great. And leave it there. Own the compliment. Nancy B writes, I'm learning to stop wasting money on foods that I eventually throw out. Tossed out celery that went bad this morning. And this is the things that people have to learn. We don't have to eat vegetables. Vegetables are non-essential. They are not required. I eat very few vegetables, not because I don't like them. I do like vegetables. But I eat my fatty sources of protein first. I'm going to get the nutrition from that. I just don't really have room in my life in my nutrition profile for vegetables right now. Sharon Wild writes, I read this morning that something me was going to cheat at an Italian restaurant because she hadn't eaten anything good in 4 months. Oh, that's the way some people are going to be. I think the way my husband and I eat is fabulous. Steak, bacon, sausage, homegrown eggs, by the way, from our chickens, prime rib, thick pork chops with a nice band of fat, shrimp, scallops, salmon, duck, lamb, the occasional blue cheese or ranch dressing. It's not just for salads. You can dip other things in there. I think what we eat is pretty good. Cara Z writes, people don't understand that this lifestyle is easy for me. They think it's such a sacrifice, but it's really not. You know, I agree with you, Cara. When I started losing weight, remember, I was big. You can see my previous photographs of, there are only a few of which are extant because I destroyed them, or I forbade people from taking photographs of me. But there are some that emerged after I lost weight. People didn't dare show them to me when I was still heavy. But so as I started to lose weight and people would notice, this is my previous career in my office setting. Wow, you've lost weight. You must be so proud of yourself. That I know that had to be so hard. And I finally just started saying, you know what, I hate to tell you, it's the easiest thing I've ever done. Really. I was at the right place in my brain. I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I just wasn't going to do that. I'd had enough health situations going on in my past. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to belabor the subject here again. I was in the right place. Plus, I felt so physically uncomfortable. Everything hurt. I was morose, which is a weird thing for a gregarious, optimistic person to be. But I just was not happy with myself. So I was at the right place that, okay, if this will do it, I'm doing it. Sharon Wild writes, you could freeze celery using soups. Christy Cali Chica. Christy, are you a Cali as in California or Cali as in Cali, Colombia? So many companies make, quote, keto food stuff now makes it hard to choose what is good for you and not. Keeping it simple is what I'm trying to do for myself. I can answer this for you, Christy. None of it's good. None of those products are good. I don't know whether Gray's custom trim is. Yeah, right there. There's my guy. Yes, Christy, if you can't avoid all those, quote, keto products and just shop for unprocessed food. Gray, I always put you on the spot and I ask you if you want to share. Gray knows of what he speaks. Shelly Riley writes, I gave all my keto products to my neighbors. Good for you. Life Adventures and Keto, that was with RA, rheumatoid arthritis. I didn't want medicine or to be disabled. And you know what? Y'all, type 2 diabetes is not a joke. It is not, just a disease that you get and you take some insulin and you'll be fine. No, it attacks your system. The thing that is the same thing that is causing the high blood sugar and the high insulin. And actually, type 2 diabetes, it's hyperinsulinemia. These stupid commercials for take whatever the medication is for type 2 diabetics. I'm lucky. This is a quote. I'm lucky. My body still makes insulin. Yeah, that's not the problem with type 2 diabetes. We're swimming in insulin. It's not that our bodies don't make it, unlike a type 1 diabetic. We have plenty of insulin. It's hyperinsulinemia, which is extremely inflammatory. So it not only has, issues with blood sugar, but then your kidneys, your eyesight, your peripheral neuropathy can come in. People are getting gangrenous feet cut off because they didn't want to lay off the carbs. Here is one of the products from the Teespring shop. Lay off the carbs, lay off the excuses. You don't need a kit or special foods, but I'll sell you a mug all day long. I'm just trying to earn my keep, y'all. And then a little image of me in the back, and then a steel water bottle. Oh, and a lot of these products came because of people requested them. So I like designing them. I had multiple requests for a zippered hoodie. So I designed one. Go Keto with Casey, and my thumbs up. And it's very thick. And it comes, and it's unisex. And I think it goes up to size 3X. This is a small. And I'm going to take it off because it's quite warm. It's effective. Okay, enough about that. Cali is California. Although Colombia, and it's Colombia with an O, C-O-L-O, is beautiful. Have you ever been there? Don't know if you know. My husband is from Colombia. B. Gray writes, keto, quote, commercially sold is rarely food you would make at home with ingredients you recognize. It's the same as anything else. And was it on a patron live stream or a YouTube live stream that someone shared that as far as trending words in the marketing world, keto is actually on the decline. Thank goodness. Oh, by the way, December 20th, a week from Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Casey's Keto Connections with Jackie Eberstein, version 2. We've chatted before, and then Georgia Eid was on one of them, and I've got my fingers in the fire for some other people. But Jackie actually said, can we do you want to do one of those again? Yes. So if you want to talk to the absolute world expert, she ran Dr. Atkins' clinic with him and sometimes for him since, 1974, I think. So if you want to ask a question of the person who knows it all, and she has not forgotten one thing, it's amazing. She just has all the information right at her fingertips. Gray's Custom Trim lost, listen to this, guys, 255.2 pounds in 12 months following the simple all caps protocol. Now down, oh, wow, I didn't know that, Greg. Now down over 300 and still loving eating keto. And you're living eating keto. That's fantastic, Gray. And Jen writes, I love all the holiday baking shows this time of year, but man, it can make you salivate and crave. And you know what? You can still have a nice holiday without sugar cookies. Okay, imagine the end of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. All the Who's down in Whoville they still had their holiday, even though the roast beast had been stolen and the Christmas trees and the baubles were all taken. They still came out and they still had a beautiful holiday holding hands. Just substitute sugar cookies or whatever else is your thing. Oh dear, life adventures and keto. A friend of mine had his left foot taken off. Before that, I had a conversation about food. His doctor had never had that conversation with him. That's awful. Jeez. And everyone's sending much love to Gray. Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray. Does anyone have any? So I'm gonna kind of, why do we make it hard? There are as many explanations for that as there are people. None of this there's one answer for everybody. Even the 20 grams, some people can tolerate more grams of carbohydrate for a while. I'm far below 20. I'm probably sub 10 most days. It just depends. It depends on your stage of life, your gender, your body composition, your blood chemistry. I did on the snippet, I don't often do it, but I was curious about something. So during the snippet that I recorded, they're not live, they are recorded, but I don't edit them or anything. I just record them with bed hair and before the sun comes up and post them to patrons. But I was curious, so I got out my Keto Mojo, which is the device I now use, to test my readings. Oh, so everything was fine. I knew I hadn't eaten anything weird. I just knew I hadn't, but I was just, sometimes we just feel kind of, can't quite identify. My blood sugar was 72, and my beta hydroxybutyrate, which is the blood byproduct of burning fat for fuel, was 2.1. Someone commented under that snippet that, her blood sugar was, higher and her blood ketones were lower. So I'm working at it. That's just my body chemistry. If you're burning fat for fuel, it's kind of you are or you are not. It's like pregnancy. Someone will come up with a very good, accurate meter that just says yes or no. So people can quit worrying about it. Don't overcomplicate that either. No, you don't even have to test. B. Gray writes, I've not lost much weight, 15 pounds, but what I have lost is pain. That is the story. That's the lead that gets buried, is how people are coming off of medications, multiple medications, and feeling good, and getting their lives back, not needing emergency asthma inhalers, not needing acid reflux medications, either prescription or over the counter, not having, 3 days a week headaches, not having irritable bowel syndrome. Forget about the blood glucose, right? I think that's fantastic. Shelley Riley writes, does anyone else have days where they just can't get full and eat low carb all day? Some days it feels like there's not enough food for me. Most days not. But some days, yeah, wow. Oddly, almost every time I finish one of these live streams, even no matter what if I had my plate of fuel prior, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I don't know whether it's adrenaline or what, but almost every Saturday I feel like that. Yeah, some days, because we're not robots, some days I eat more, some days I eat less. It just depends. But if we listen to our bodies, and this is where following some kind of restrictive, arbitrary time of day eating or following what an app tells us, we need to just listen to our bodies, the original app. Terry Ann writes, to quote Dr. Westman, you can do a prescription strength keto lifestyle or an over-the-counter internet Wild West version. Yes, absolutely. Don't blame keto for what, frankly, don't blame keto for what the internet did. Don't blame keto for what net carbs did. Don't blame keto for what the cheat day did. Don't blame keto for what the keto products did. Christy Kelly Chica writes, just feel better overall eating this way, and losing the weight is a bonus. That's where I was. And if I can do this, you can do this. I dare say that Gray's Custom Trim would write, if he can do this, you can do this. Unfreaking believable story. I've been trying to wrangle him for a Casey's Keto Connections. I just put it on the street, Mr. Gray. But he's shy, and I respect that. But I think that story could help a lot of people. Okay, packaged keto food is very expensive, and serving and have more than, it's not keto. They can call it, I could put things on the store shelf. Casey's Keto Clusters, because I can say anything I want. I have to put the nutritional information on the back, so that's what you have to look at. It's not the front. You have to look at the back. And it's total carbs, not net carbs. Do not subtract out grams of fiber, grams of sugar, alcohol. It's total carbs per serving. And then look and see how many servings there are in the package. Whew. So, friends, next Saturday will be my last YouTube live stream of the year. And I think I might make it a more personal one. I'm kind of, because I'm kind of at the looking forward to the next thing, and I'm kind of analyzing what's come before. It's been a fantastic time. I could not have designed what I do now for a living. It didn't exist. But I certainly couldn't have seen myself doing it. And I'm extremely privileged. My patrons are fantastic. As I've often said, I think people join that group not to get access to me, but to get access to each other. It's a very good group. It fluctuates. People come and go, but it's a good group. So I think I'm going to put a lot of thought into next Saturday's, the last one of the year, because the next Saturday will be Christmas. So I won't be doing one that day. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your world, however briefly that might be. And just keep it straightforward. Get back to basics. I promise you, there is no such thing as a keto food that you can get that, well, foods aren't keto. Our bodies are ketogenic. There's no packaged product that's going to help you. There's no kit or pill or powder or potion. Lay off the carbs. That's it. Lay off the carbs. Don't believe me? Ask Gray's Custom Trim. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and I will see you next time.